I moved into my new house about a year or two ago. I had lived in the area for a year before we were evicted due to the owners of our old house wanting to move in. I'm a young female still living with my family, which makes this story even more weird. Now, when you look out my window, you see my fence and then a house. They are up on a small hill, so the fence does not block anything. The first encounter that I had with this man was late at night. I was with some friends while all of our parents were out at a party. I would say that me and my friends are old enough to be left at home. We were fairly responsible. We were just relaxing in my room with no light or music on. We had turned the TV off when we were alone. We heard my dog start barking for a good 10 minutes. We passed this off because she barked at absolutely everything. I'm talking birds in the power line, bug on the front porch, anything that moves pretty much. We started hearing weirder noises like crunching circling the perimeter of my room and scratching on the walls. I kid you not. The moment that we start getting scared, the loudest bangs that I've ever heard start pounding on my glass sliding door. Me and the 3 others run out of my room to go look at what in the world could be making this much noise. We were greeted by an aggressive dog. This dog was up on the glass, pounding on the door. My dog was scared. She usually doesn't do this, but she backed away behind me into my room, with all of her fur on end. And then we see it. A man dressed in all black standing at the door. We were all standing perfectly still, but I guess my friend's flight response went off. And just as she jumped to lock the door, the man reached for it too. My friend yelled, "What are you doing here? Who are you?" He responded with the simple, "I don't know," and walked off with his dog who was on a leash. When our parents got back, I told them about him. They asked us why we didn't call them. Truthfully, I know that we should have, but I didn't want to ruin my mom's birthday party. I have learned from this though. 2 days later, my mom confronted our neighbor who was mowing the lawn. He said that it was in fact him and that his dog had run into our gate and he got the dog back. He said that he meant to come and talk to her earlier about it, but he didn't. I thought it was a normal story until I thought back to that night. The gate that his dog supposedly ran through had a tough clasp that was shut on that night. We have it there so our dog can't get out and so nothing can come in, but you can open it by hand. Meaning that this man opened the gate and let himself and his dog inside. My theory is that he heard the music stop and didn't see lights from his house, and so he decided that he was going to come and, rob us. The noises that we heard must have been him, scaling the perimeter of my room for 10 minutes before attempting to enter. And we filed a police report and nothing happened for a few months until one night. I was in bed almost asleep but still getting comfy. I sat up to rearrange my pillows and turned around so I could properly make it comfy when I saw a face outside my window staring back at me. Whoever it was wearing a black face covering, and I texted my mom and froze. I heard moving and then my mom came and checked, but there was nothing there now. This wasn't just my imagination as my neighbor's lights are visible from the crack in my curtain, but the face was covering a majority of the light. Ever since then, I've noticed them watching, and whenever I catch them looking, they get up from their balcony and they leave. But I'll catch them in the same spot watching only 5 minutes later. And during my sophomore year in high school, I was unfortunately involved in a terrifying event at my school. It happened during lunchtime, and I'll never forget what unfolded in front of me. Right before the bell rang, I heard what sounded like somebody slamming lockers as hard as they could. The noise echoing through the halls, and before anybody could think, a kid ran down the hall screaming, "He has a gun!" Now mind you, it was close to the end of the year, so sadly a lot of us thought that it was a messed up senior prank. The reason I say this is because over the past few months we've had kids apparently posting on Facebook that they were going to do this to the school. Therefore we had police officers in our classrooms, guarding us non-stop throughout the second semester. So when it actually happened, we didn't know if it was real or fake. Our security guard, who was previously a sniper in the military, ran down the hallway to see what was happening. Not even a minute later, he comes running back to tell us to run, and we did. Kids were jumping over tables, jumping over each other, and teachers were trying to pull kids into their classrooms. Everything broke loose the moment that we realized this meant life or death, and all I could think about was, where's my sister? She had left for the bathroom moments before the first shots rang out, and I remember not knowing what to do. Do I find her or do I hide because the gunman was coming right for me? And so I ran as fast as I could up the stairs and into my fourth period class. The teacher, I remember everybody was staring at me, like what was going on? Are you okay? And that's when the principal got on the intercom, and I'll never forget what he said. This is a code red, hide your students. I repeat, this is not a drill. Hide your students. I didn't even have to say a word. The senior class I ran into took action. They barricaded the door with the desks and chairs after pulling in as many students as they could. The teacher told us to turn off all our phone sounds but to text our parents. When I did, my mom so happened to be right around the corner from the school. She raced over despite me telling her that it wasn't safe. I felt like I could have gotten my mom killed that day, and I still regret it, though she remained safe. A lot after that is a blur. I remember my sister texting me and telling me that she was safe, but that the gunman was trying to get into their classroom. I remember hearing the SWAT team clearing the hallways and hearing on one of the radios that there were multiple suspects, but none could be found. I remember seeing on a multiple Snapchats, teachers next to doors ready to take action. Some had scissors, others had baseball bats, and another showed students taking off their shoes, ready to attack anyone who entered without permission. Though being slightly wholesome, the school of people should never have to defend themselves against angry classmates with guns. That was something that should have never happened, especially on a day that our guard was down. Long story short, we were on lockdown from 1:45 p.m. to 10 p.m. that night. The shooters were never found as far as I know, and nobody was fatally injured. Thank God. Walking out, though, to see food and papers scattering the hallways was rough. We had to have our hands up in the air as we left the school, and before going outside, we were all patted down to make sure that we didn't have any weapons. My parents hugged me harder than ever before, and me just being happy that we all walked out to see another day. I dropped out of high school shortly after that and moved back to my hometown 5 states away. I lived with my brother for a bit until I got my own place, and that's when I met Devin. He was like 3 years older than me, and I never realized that he was my first grade crush's older brother, but there we were. He was pretty good friends with my brother, and they would hang out when we would have kickbacks. I can't say that he was a bad guy from what I saw, and he never had beef with anyone. A super laid-back stoner type of guy. He was really cool until we all got drunk one night and it slipped that he almost shot up his high school. Now everybody there pretty much knew this about him, but played it off as well. He didn't actually do it, so even my brother. I was disgusted when I told him what happened to me, and they dropped him from the friend group pretty fast. It's just sad that it took me telling them that I was actually involved in one to no longer be friends with him. Like, people, you shouldn't have been friends with him to begin with. Anyway, so I moved again and no longer talked to any of those friends, including my brother, and that's something that I'm not sorry about. It's been almost 10 years and I'm slowly moving on. I just wish the trend of validating other people's bad behavior would stop. It's not a game, and if you ever feel the need to take these drastic actions, please don't. It's not worth ruining your life and others. You have a chance to make things right, so please do it.